Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And as we approach the end of January in 2020, we're going to have an all-English lecture today because we think you're ready for it. You don't need to rely on the crutch of a Chinese teacher to get you through today's lesson. But I should kind of apologize. Even though our lesson is an all-English lecture, we still have some French words that we're going to say in today's lesson because we're talking about something in France.
Yeah, but we'll use the English pronunciation. I have seen this area in France, but yeah, it's been a long time. So I was just looking at pictures to see what it looked like. It's a beautiful area.
Like a little town or something, right?
Yeah, but we will be trying to just stick with English, not speak so quickly. Don't talk too fast over there. And see how much we can learn about this beautiful area in France. Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful place to go see. Because look at the title. It's France's crowning jewel. When you describe something as being an area or a person or a company's jewel, crowning jewel, it's the best thing ever. It's the best thing they have to offer. And this place is pretty darn beautiful. Might want to look it up. It's described as being a commune in France. It's a town southeast of Paris. It's not too far from Paris. A lot of people who travel to visit Paris then take a tour bus and go out there. You really should. It's so close. But it was built by French royalty, and parts of it go back to the 1100s.
Ooh, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
But of course, we better dispense with the name of the place, Fontainebleau. So that's the name of this town in France. That's pretty cool. And you ought to go visit this place and maybe learn some French ahead of time.
I think the French is more like Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau.
But we're just going to say Fontainebleau.
But yeah, this is not a French lesson. You'll have to go someplace else for that. We're speaking English in today's program. So let's get to it. Let's talk about this place in France. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson right now. A January breeze brings some color to your cheeks as you walk down a quiet street in Fontainebleau. As you walk past rows of blue shuttered windows, you feel like you could be just about anywhere in rural France. However, this dignified little town has much more to offer. Lively restaurants, excellent scenery, and one of Europe's most exquisite palaces. Just 55 kilometers away from Paris, Fontainebleau has long been a favorite holiday destination among locals. The town owes its pedigree to its biggest tourist attraction, the royal estate of Chateau De Fontainebleau. This UNESCO World Heritage Site was first built in the 12th century as a hunting lodge. It was expanded in the 1500s as a residence for kings and emperors, including Napoleon Bonaparte. Inside, visitors can marvel at the chateau's splendid design, which includes styles from throughout the ages, from Renaissance to Rococo. Meanwhile, upon stepping outside, they'll catch sight of the Horseshoe Staircase, a historic location where Napoleon gave his final salute. They'll also find peace and quiet in the estate's pleasant gardens and ornamental lakes. While the chateau may be the jewel in Fontainebleau's crown, the town boasts more than just royal connections. Hungry travelers will be spoiled for choice by the excellent dining scene, which has everything from cozy bistros to Michelin-starred restaurants. Moreover, they can go hiking, horseback riding, and rock climbing in the surrounding Fontainebleau forest, France's second-largest woodland park. Stretching over more than 22,000 hectares, this sea of pine trees, rocky peaks, and romantic ruins has inspired painters and playwrights since the 1800s. It's the perfect place for a thoughtful walk in the woods while you contemplate your heavenly escape to fantastic Fontainebleau.
So our author here, he has written a paragraph that kind of paints a scene for you so you can imagine kind of what it looks like. He's got a January breeze. Bring some color to your cheeks as you walk down a quiet street in Fontainebleau. As you walk past rows of blue shuttered windows, You feel like you could be just about anywhere in rural France. However, this dignified little town has much more to offer. And then there's a list of things: lively restaurants, excellent scenery, and one of Europe's most exquisite palaces. So this is kind of a wonderful little paragraph. It makes you want to book your tickets, so you can fly over to France and see this. This area is quite close to France. It's 55 kilometers away from that big city. And it's just nice to get out there. And you're kind of in the countryside, although there are a lot of tourists. We've got a January breeze, so it's probably pretty cool. It doesn't really snow much, but it can get pretty cold there. And it brings some color to your cheeks, because that wind can be a little nippy, a little cold. Nippy just means a little chilly. We use that word, especially about a breeze or some sort of wind that makes you want to get another sweater and put that on too. So it brings some color to your cheeks as you walk down a quiet street in Fontainebleau. It is a lot quieter there than it is, say, in a big city, for sure.
Sure, and this is January, so it's going to be cold. So as the wind hits your face, your cheeks will turn red because you're feeling cold. And as you walk past rows of blue shuttered windows, you feel like you could be just about anywhere in rural France. So if someone did not tell you where you were, you'd swear you were in just any kind of village in France based on the windows there, especially based on the blue shuttered windows. Now, I've never been to France myself, but I suppose that based on this sentence, a lot of homes in rural countryside France have these blue shuttered windows. Is that true? You've been to France before. Are they all like blue shuttered windows?
No,
okay.
But it sounds beautiful.
Sounds pretty cool.
I love those blue shuttered windows. But it does make you feel like you're, in rural France. Rural, of course, is the countryside. However, it says this dignified little town has much more to offer. It's got lively restaurants, excellent scenery, and it's got one of the best palaces in all of Europe. It's just gorgeous. I look at some of these palaces in Europe and I think, how in the world did they build these things without the equipment that we have today? It's amazing. If you have a window that's shuttered, guys, it's got a shutter on the window, which is made of wood, and you can close those shutters to protect the glass. You can have shutters inside or outside the window. My mom loved shutters. They're kind of old-fashioned, but she wanted an old-fashioned house, so we have shutters on our windows.
Were they real?
They're real. Yeah,
okay, because the house I grew up in had faux shutters.
Oh, fake, huh?
Yeah, they were just next to the windows, looking like shutters that could close over the windows.
That's popular.
But they were just for decoration. But I guess these are the real thing in France here, shuttered windows. If there's a winter storm or something, they can just close those shutters over the windows and the wind won't break the glass or something like that. So yeah, this is not just anywhere in France. It's a dignified little town. If something's dignified, it has a lot of dignity, which means it's kind of serious, but it is due respect. It's a place that's respectful, a place that you should respect because it's just so dignified.
Yeah. They don't play around. They've got a kind of a serious feeling to it. Usually we use dignified to talk about a dignified old lady or a dignified elderly man. You need to show them respect for the things that they've accomplished. Well, this town's pretty dignified. You know what lively means? There's just a lot going on. There's a lot of energy. People are probably playing music, listening to music, a lot of chatting. Excellent scenery. Scenery here is what it looks like all around. Please be careful with scenery, guys. I was just recording something yesterday.
Oh, you're not going to say it, are you? I don't want to hear this.
Yeah. And somebody had written, beautiful sceneries in Russia, and I was like, no, scenery is non-count. It doesn't matter how many scenes you've been looking at, how many different areas you've seen. Please don't say sceneries in a country. The scenery is beautiful all over France. If you're looking at a particular scene, That is countable. You know, I saw some beautiful scenes today as I went on a tour around Russia. Here it's just talking about the scenery in general in this particular part of France. And it's also, Fontainebleau also has one of Europe's most exquisite palaces. Don't use this word exquisite unless you really mean it. It has to be extremely beautiful. Usually it's quite expensive. Often it's delicate. We'll talk about really expensive pieces of jewelry as being, exquisite. Or her dress. Maybe she has a ball gown on. Her dress is exquisite. Or someone's taste is exquisite. Someone who knows how to buy the best of the best out there, and usually the best of the best. These exquisite things cost a lot of money.
Yeah, those things do cost a lot. And exquisite, of course, is the American pronunciation. And here in the next paragraph, it says, just 55 kilometers away from Paris, Fontainebleau has long been a favorite holiday destination among locals. And I think here locals is referring specifically to French people or maybe people from Paris. So it's been a favorite holiday destination. People in France love to go to this place. So if you go there as a tourist, you can expect to see lots of other tourists there from other parts of France.
Yeah, real French tourists and not just Chinese tourists and Japanese tourists.
Or Americans or Brits.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in a beautiful area. We're describing it as exquisite, the palace itself. And like I said, it's pretty close to Paris. It's only 55 kilometers away. So it's kind of nice, kind of like Elon, you know. We're here in Taipei that is so busy, lots of traffic. And pretty close to Taipei is Elon, which a lot of people like to head to. There are a lot of these little, places outside big cities that are very tempting and lure, people to come down so that they can relax and have a good time. This, of course, is one of their places that is a favorite holiday destination, more like a weekend destination for the locals. The town owes its pedigree to its biggest tourist attraction, and that's the chateau that we're going to talk about. Your pedigree. Usually when you see this word pedigree, I think of dogs and cats, It's kind of an animal's history, their parents. Are they purebred? Where they came from, their ancestry, pedigree. You can also use it for a person, he has a very high-class pedigree or he has a very distinctive pedigree. Comes from people who perhaps were royalty, long ago. I have a good pedigree, I must say. I come from good people. Well, the town owes its pedigree, its history, to its biggest tourist attraction. Again, that's the chateau that we're going to talk about. It's a royal estate. When you see this word estate, guys, very few people, except the very, very wealthy, actually live on an estate or own an estate. It's not just a building. It's all the property, all the land that surrounds it. It's usually quite big and quite spectacular. I usually don't see estates too much in big cities. There's not enough room or land for them. But you can also talk about someone's estate being the property and the money they have when they died. So someone's estate after they died will be passed, down to their relatives, who remain. Or maybe they donated their estate to some sort of charity because they felt strongly about that. But this is includes all the buildings, includes the castle. Chateau is French for castle, in case you didn't know. And it's a pretty big area of land. It's nice.
And we'll talk about the Chateau De Fontainebleau in just a second. But right now we're going to take a break. But stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, guys. We're talking about Fontainebleau. It's France's crowning jewel, a really beautiful area of France you can go visit. A lot of tourists just go to Paris there's so much more to see than just Paris. Get yourself out into the country and you'll meet nicer people. Although I have to say, my last trip to Paris, I met some very nice Parisians. They were really rude when I went there as a young girl. But they've learned that tourism is a big part of the economy. And they actually are very helpful now on the streets of Paris. But if you go out into the country, people are even nicer. You know, I keep hearing from people in Taipei how nice the people down south in Taiwan are. And I hadn't been down for a long time, and I went, and they're right. I mean, I think the people here in Taipei City are really great and nice to us. But they were so kind down south. So it makes sense that people out in the country who aren't as busy and just, have a better attitude about life, a lot of them, they're quite nice. So if you can get yourself out of Paris when you're in France, you're going to see some wonderful sights, including Fontainebleau, but also the people are kind.
So we did talk about the blue shuttered windows, but of course the biggest tourist attraction there is the estate of Chateau De Fontainebleau. Now, this UNESCO World Heritage Site was first built in the 12th century, which would be the 1100s. That was a long time ago, but it was first built as a hunting lodge. A lodge is kind of like a cabin or a house in the countryside, and hunters would go there, and they would stay there, and then they'd go out hunting during the day, and then they'd come back at night to sleep or whatever. Lodge also is often used as a word to refer to a motel or a place to stay. Especially in the western United States, you see a lot of lodges out there. You can stop and sleep for the night. And it was expanded in the 1500s as a residence for kings and emperors, including Napoleon Bonaparte himself. So a residence, of course, is where somebody lives. All throughout Taiwan, there are various residents of the former president, Chiang Kai-shek. He had these various residences in different parts. There's one down in Kending. There's one in Fuxingxiang and other places. Those are residences, places where these people lived. So the kings would get tired of Paris and they'd say, hey, let's go to Fontainebleau. I want to hang out there for the weekend.
Sounds great. I also wanted to mention this word lodge. We use it to talk about ski lodges. So if you go snow skiing, there's always, a lodge that you can go in and just relax by the fire and have hot chocolate. So yeah, this sounds like a great place. It was expanded in the 1500s, and boy, they built fancy stuff back in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, especially in Europe where they had money. And it was a place where kings and emperors lived, as Tom said, including the very famous military commander, Napoleon. He was the Napoleon you always hear about. His full name is Napoleon Bonaparte, but typically we refer to him as Napoleon. Inside, visitors can marvel or be kind of overwhelmed at the chateau's splendid design. Marvel, in today's world, actually probably stands for the Marvel superheroes, in the movies that come out. But it's an actual verb, guys. If you marvel at something, you're kind of amazed at something, It's somebody who's looking at something and they're filled with wonder, astonishment. Wow! Marvelous is the adjective form, something can be marvelous, but we also use marvel as a noun and a verb. Here, of course, it's a verb. You could say, wow, it's a marvel that you got this much done, which is a noun. Anyway, it's splendid. If it has a splendid design, it's quite beautiful. Anything that was built back then in Europe by people who had money, built things that were really impressive. They look quite magnificent. Can also mean excellent.
Okay, and of course, it's got lots of designs there, splendid designs, which include styles from throughout the ages, from throughout history, from Renaissance to Rococo. Those are different periods of history there. And meanwhile, upon stepping outside, or when you step outside, they'll catch sight, or you'll catch sight, of the Horseshoe Staircase. So I guess it's a staircase that's shaped like a horseshoe, which is kind of like an upside-down U. Okay?
Yeah.
One staircase on the right, one on the left, kind of curving up. And that is a historic location where Napoleon gave his final salute. Salute, usually for soldiers, is when you put your hand up by your forehead, saluting your superior officer. But this particular case means he just had some sort of gesture to the people there before he was banished or isolated to some island in the South Atlantic, I think.
He was banished there, huh? Yeah, salute. To say, here it just kind of a sign of goodbye that he was giving them, yeah. So, yeah, it's got a lot of different styles, Renaissance to Rococo. Rococo is really that very ornate design that you saw, especially in the Baroque period. So these words here can mean a musical style, an interior design style, an exterior design style, but they're used a lot, especially when you're talking about architecture from that period of time in Europe. So meanwhile, same time, upon stepping outside, so we kind of talked about what it would be like to be there on that staircase, but if you step outside, you'll catch sight of the Horseshoe Staircase. And this was that location Tom was talking about where he gave his final salute. They'll also find peace and quiet in the estate's pleasant gardens and ornamental lakes. I think what was so surprising to me was going out there, and even though there were lots of tourists, it still was very quiet. It was kind of beautiful, I must say. Their gardens there are amazing. Ornamental in front of lake means it's man-made. It's not a natural lake. It was a lake that men built, because they wanted a lake. And probably has some fish in there, but you're not supposed to fish in it, and you can't go swimming in those either.
And I would say these lakes are kind of there as decorations for the actual castle itself to make it look better or something like that. So yes, they're artificial and they're there as decorations. Now here in the next paragraph it says, while the chateau may be the jewel in Fontainebleau's crown, the town boasts more than just royal connections. So yes, while it may be the jewel in the crown there, it is true that it is the top attraction there. Still, there's other things to see in Fontainebleau than just things that have to do with kings and queens.
With that castle, yeah.
Yeah, and the royal family. So yes, indeed, we're describing this castle as being the jewel in Fontainebleau's crown, which kind of means it's the most exquisite thing there. It's the top attraction. It's a must-see there in Fontainebleau. But yeah, even though you should go there, you definitely should go take some selfies there and tell all your friends that you were there. There are still other amazing things to see in Fontainebleau.
Oh, one of the things that every visitor likes to do is to find some good tasting food. So that's one of the things that they offer. Hungry travelers will be spoiled for choice by the excellent dining scene. And it has everything from cozy bistros to Michelin-starred restaurants. If you're spoiled for choice, it means you have so many choices. Not many people get as many choices, so you're spoiled. We often use spoiled to talk about kids whose parents give them everything they want, and then the children turn into brats. They're really not people you want to hang out with. But here it just means, wow, you have so many choices. You feel like you don't deserve all those choices. But you've got cozy bistros, cozy, just kind of like home. Bistro food is more like diner food, which I love. I love diner. We have a couple of restaurants here in Taipei that offer diner food or bistro food, which is great. Michelin Stars are awards of excellence to chefs who are just terrific chefs. It's very hard to get one Michelin star. So if it's got more than one Michelin star, whew, you're probably going to be paying a lot for that meal. So these are Michelin-starred restaurants that have earned those stars. Moreover, there's some other things you can do. You can go hiking, horseback riding, and rock climbing in the surrounding forest there. And the Fontainebleau Forest is considered France's second largest woodland park. So it's a really big area. I didn't see any horseback riding. That sounds fun.
You'd probably have to ask around, hey, where can I ride a cheval or a horse? I think that's the word for horse in French. And of course, yes, you can do that. If you enjoy the great outdoors, go hiking, horseback riding, rock climbing, or whatever. Maybe they even have places to go mountain biking or even cycling, who knows. And you can do this stuff in the surrounding Fontainebleau forest. So there's a forest that is all around the town. Now, France's second largest woodland park is Fontainebleau Forest. So I guess there's one somewhere else that is bigger, but still second largest in France is probably going to be pretty big because France is a pretty large country.
Sure is. It's a woodland park, meaning if you took woodland away, it would just be, some sort of park that someone designated as a park. Woodland just means it has lots of trees. So it's a huge forest. It stretches over 22,000 hectares, which is a big area. And it's being described here as a sea of pine trees, rocky peaks, and romantic ruins. And this area has inspired painters and playwrights since the 1800s. So it's a place that a lot of our artists long ago would go to and get some inspiration from this beautiful area. So pine trees are often found in forests. We use pine trees as Christmas trees. That's our choice of tree. Rocky peaks means mountains that go up to a peak that's not smooth. If it's smooth, it's more of a hill than a mountain, right? And you've got romantic ruins. So the remains of some old castles are there as well. Some of the castles didn't make it to modern day. They probably were bombed or, destroyed by some of the wars they had to endure. But all these things that are found in this park have been a source of inspiration for painters and playwrights. Now, a playwright is someone who writes the words for a stage play. Someone who writes the words for a movie is a screenwriter, and those that write for the stage are playwrights.
Yeah, like Shakespeare was a famous playwright.
Yeah.
And be careful of the spelling there. There is a W in there. So, yes, painters like the place. Playwrights went there to get inspiration for their plays. It's the perfect place for a thoughtful walk in the woods while you contemplate your heavenly escape to fantastic Fontainebleau. So, yes, indeed, you can enjoy a stroll, a walk in the woods, and you can contemplate different things. If you contemplate something, you think about something, especially if there are big questions that you're trying to figure out in your life and you need some peace and quiet to do that. It's very difficult to contemplate things when you're in busy cities like Kaohsiung or Taipei.
Yeah.
So, yeah, escape to the Fontainebleau forest there. It's a heavenly escape. Heavenly means like heaven. She's dressed heavenly tonight. She's wearing a gown that makes her look like an angel.
Yeah, what a heavenly dish you prepared for us. Oh, what a heavenly smell. So things that are really wonderful can be described as heavenly. Wow, makes me want to go on a trip this weekend and spend some time in this beautiful area of France. Well, that's all the time we have, and we're not going to let you listen to the Chinese teacher.
Oh, no.
No Chinese teacher. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Fontainebleau. I encourage you guys to get online and take a look at some of this particular area of France. It's beautiful. Got to sign off, Tom. So, for English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.